Hey, Shalom. First and foremost, I'll let it begin by giving all praises, glory, and honor unto YAHAWAH, BaHaShem, YAHAWASHI, BaHaShem, Rakaha, Kwadash. Our double honors to the elder apostles, the elder bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect, to all the dedicated brothers out there that's giving their due diligence in serving Yahweh through his only begotten son, Yahawashi, in sincerity and truth. All right, again, I'd like to say Shalom. All right, today's topic, I'd like to touch on the main characters, right? And, really I'm referring to it as, Jacob and Esau. When you go into the scriptures, right? Those are the main topics or individuals that's going to be talked about throughout the scriptures, right? Jacob representing the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, representing the nation of Israel, the 12 tribes, and Esau, Edom, representing these Babylonians, these Americans, these Russians, the Edomite race, which is a so-called white man. Right. And when you look at the word, not only when you read it in the scriptures, the main characters, right, which is referring to Jacob and Esau, but you could also allude that to what's going on into the world, because ultimately the main characters in the world is going to be the Israelites and Esau, Edom. These other nations, they just, they really just on the sideline. They're really just props. They're just there. Right, when you're talking about laws being passed or evil manifesting in the land, you already looking at the so-called white man as the ones responsible for it, right? Shortages, chemtrails in the air, forests being burnt down, mandatory jabs, things like that. The main character when you look at that in the world is going to be the Edomites. And, the scriptures refer to these Edomites being the wicked. So it makes sense. And the other main characters in the world, which is the main character in the scripture, which is the top main characters, you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, right? You're the one that hold down the churches, right? And, the elect, right, is out there in the corners preaching. When you see righteousness being done, it's more than likely going to be an Israelite man or woman, right? Inventions that's being inventions is being brought to the forefront. Jake is responsible for it, right? Music, movies, entertainment, food, right? Jake is involved in all that, right? The best food is created by Israelite men and women. The best movies ever done was by Jake. The best sports, the best highlights in sports are done by Jake. So we're talking about main characters. Hey, the Bible's on point. All right, and the Bible, really what I want to get into as well is that the Bible identifies who Jacob and Esau is, right? And really, that's what I want to go into, because it's not like it was written in the scriptures and it then faded away, is done away with. These individuals don't live no more. No, they're still here, right? But today they're being rebranded, to keep the masses asleep, or keep the masses dumbed down, or to keep the masses silent. Because if the world knew who Esau, Edom is, they would watch out for that man, right? And they wouldn't trust him, right? Esau, Edom would understand that their gig would be up if the world knew that the Edomites were the so-called white race, right? And if the world found out that the Israelites were the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, Esau would get hung, right? The world would turn on Esau, Edom, understanding that, look, this is God's people and this is what you did to them. That's if the world was right side up, right? But we understand that the world is upside down. Everything here is the promotion here is really promoting wickedness, and ultimately all these nations in cahoots anyways, under Esau's feet, living under Esau's command. So like always, Lord, when this lesson's edifying, right, I'm gonna just get straight to it, because the scriptures identify who the Edomites are, right, and identifies who the Israelites are, right. Ultimately, the nation of Esau, is the reincarnation of Cain, right? And the scriptures talks about how Cain was going to receive a mark, right? And Esau Edom inherited that because Esau Edom is Cain coming back in the flesh. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and bring that out in the book of Genesis. Right, this is the book of Genesis, chapter 4, verse where's that at? Right. Well, we could start in verse 12. Oh man, let's start in verse 10, right? See, this is going into something completely different, and this is because this got a lot of meat in it. But I just want to bring out the the context and the understanding on why Cain received that mark. And really, I believe is when you read a little up, it goes into him. First, it started with him giving a faulty sacrifice, and then ended up putting him in a position to lie to YAHAWASHI, or ultimately lie to Yahweh, and then put him in a position to kill. You know what I'm saying? So Esau Edom, and in all, he's the wicked. Cain was wicked, right? The Most High created him to be that way. Genesis 4:10, and he said, "What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood cried unto me from the ground." And ultimately, this is parabolic, going into your brother's up here, presenting his case, and he's telling me, pretty much letting me know everything that happened, even though Yahweh Shem Yahushai, I'm always going to be used to saying Yahweh Shem Yahushai, even though Yahweh already knew what happened, right? "And now art thou cursed from the earth, which has opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy from thy hand," right? So Esau Edom, as you go into the book of so now it says that you are cursed to the earth. Matter of fact, Salakia. "And now art thou cursed from the earth, which has opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand," right? So Cain was cursed from the earth, which Esau Edom is cursed from the earth as well. He says, "From thy curse." Let me bring that out real quick. This is the book of Isaiah, right? The 34th chapter, verse 5. Right, "For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea," which Idumea is just what the Greek way of saying Esau Edom, right? "And upon my curse, upon the people of my curse, to judgment." And ultimately, that's referring to Esau Edom, right? So Esau Edom is the curse, but how has Esau Edom become that curse? Because he is inheriting, the lot of Cain, which Esau Edom did his madness as well. Esau Edom was, whatever, he was created to be the wicked and did his wickedness in general, but he was actually inheriting, the spirit of his of Cain. So pretty much Esau Edom is Cain coming back. All right, and you could read that also in the book of Romans 9. He says, "Not doing any good or wrong, that the election of Yahweh Shem Yahushua might be." Well, Salaki, let me go ahead and bring it out. I know I'm already quoting it wrong. It's the book of Romans, chapter 9, verse 11. And I did say, right, Salaki, but the Most High wanted this to come out. Right, Romans 9 and 11, "For the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of the Most High according to election might stand, not of works, but of him that call it." Meaning that this is just what the Most High wanted set up. That what it was said on her, the elder shall serve the younger. So ultimately, the end game of everything is that Esau Edom is going to serve Jacob. Right, but regardless, Esau didn't even do nothing wrong yet coming out the womb. Right, but it was already set up for him to serve his brother Jacob. It was already set up that Jacob was going to be the one that's going to receive the inheritance. That's why everything went the way that it did, with Isaac blessing Jacob and blessing Esau with the sword. Right, so as you see it playing out in life, Esau Edom is blessed with the sword, and the sword is just representing a weapon. And when you look at Esau Edom, man, he literally weaponized everything. He weaponized air, water, right? Weaponized children, weaponized your mind, right? Literally weaponize your feelings, right? This dude is a mad scientist when it comes down to, his sword, the sword, right? But point being, the reason why this had to happen like this is because reincarnation was a real thing, and he was inheriting the spirit of his forefather. Well, the spirit that, was in him, which was Cain. Right, so let me go ahead and continue on. "And now art thou cursed from the earth, which has opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth. And that's playing out with Esau, Edom, right? He's in everybody's land, right? He's not wanted, right? He done took the land. He's taken lands that's not even his, right? And as when Esau, Edom first made contact with the Gadites, or the Northern Kingdom in general, he didn't know how to cultivate, right? He didn't know how to vegetate, right? And it's because of what? Because of this curse right here. This is how we know that Esau, Edom is Cain, right? So like, let's bring it out in different translations. Let's bring that in the NLT. It kind of it highlights it a little bit more. Salakia, my phone be doing this sometimes. Salakia. Let me go ahead and go to here and let me see if this works. Okay. Right, verse 12. No longer would the ground, this is an NLT, no longer would the ground yield good crops for you. No matter how hard you work, from now on you will be a homeless wanderer on the earth. Because Esau, Edom, he's not dwelling in his land, right? He's dwelling in everybody else's land. And ultimately, he's not wanted. Right? But again, you're seeing this play out in real life because this is him. See, the scriptures tells us, it gives us pointers and breadcrumbs to lead us to the understanding that we need, right? This is the book of Romans 15:4. Let's read let's read in both translations, right? For whatsoever thing was written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. NLT. Such things were written in the scriptures long ago to teach us. And the scriptures give us and the scriptures give us hope and encouragement as we wait patiently for the Most High's promise to be fulfilled. Right, but the point is, the scriptures was written a long time ago to teach us, and one of the things that it's teaching us is that it gives us understanding how to serve the Lord, and who's actually a candidate to serve the Lord, because not everybody could just step up and just serve YAHAWASHI. That's why it doesn't work. That's why it doesn't work for these nations. That's why when we preach and going in the scriptures, they got a problem with it, because ultimately they're not candidates. It's not for everybody. Matter of fact, this is for the Israelites, but it's not for all Israel at this moment, because not all Israel is going to receive this truth. It's really only for the elect. That's why the scriptures say, who are thee to take my covenant, when you throw all instructions behind you. And I'm just paraphrasing. That's the book of Psalms 50 and 16. Because not everybody could pick this up and live behind the scriptures. As the scripture said, that the just shall live by faith. We live by faith, and we believe that everything here is spiritual and is done into its perfection, while everybody else will look at errors in the scriptures and try to wiggle around it to make it to push on their narrative. But again, the scriptures helps us identify who Esau, Edom is. Right, but verse 15, I wanted to bring this out. This is the point, right? And Yahweh said unto him, therefore whosoever slay Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. Right, that's why when you put an Edomite to death over putting Jake to death, you'll catch more time and you'll catch more hell. You go through a lot more things. It'll be more severe on you killing the Edomite than it is killing the Jake, because of this right here. And again, everything that's written in the scriptures playing out in life, because what it just further proves that YAHAWASHI exists, and these scriptures is accurate, right? These things ain't just written in the book for no reason, man. These is for you to know and understand, so that way you could, live life holy, separate, right? So you don't make the same mistakes as our ancestors did that didn't want to serve the Lord. And Yahweh set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. This is the point right there, that mark. So meaning, this is what I want to bring out of that, extract out of this whole read, was that mark of Cain. Right, I wanted to get into that word mark, right? When it goes into mark, going into sign, right? Signal, a distinguished mark, banner, remembrance, miraculous sign, omen, warning, token, ensign, standard, miracle, proof. So Cain had a sign that, was going to be like a banner, something to remember him as, or who Cain is. So when Cain came out as Esau Edom, you know, he inherited that. So Esau Edom, what differs Esau Edom from everybody else in the world was that he came out with no melanin, which Cain received no melanin at that time as well. Right, again, it is a sign. That mark is a sign to show that, look, this dude right here, you got to watch out for him pretty much. Right? That's why it says a distinguished mark, a banner of remembrance, miraculous sign, something that, I'm saying, it's a miracle that the Most High had to do it. Nobody else could have set that forth to man but the Most High himself. A omen, a warning. That's another thing too. That sign was set up for a warning. Look, when you see this man, watch out for him, pretty much, as the scriptures say, never trust our enemies as well. Because at one point Esau, made it seem out to be as that white skin being a privilege, or being something holy, or being something associated with godliness, or something nice, when really it's associated with somebody that committed wickedness in the past. And ultimately, there's nothing white about this individual. He's actually red. That's why when Esau Edom came out the womb, he came out what? Red all over, like a hairy garment. So point being, the main characters. And one of the main characters is Esau Edom, and you could identify Esau Edom by his characteristics. Right? And one of the characteristics that Esau Edom carries is him being wicked. And you could bring that out of the book of Psalms 58. Right? This is the book of Psalms 58, verse 2. Right? Yea, in heart ye work wickedness. Right? In your mind, that's all you ever meditate. That's all you're ever involved in. That's all you ever associate your time in committing is wickedness. Ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. Everywhere wickedness, that's where you're at, involving yourself, pretty much. Right? The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. And that's the spirit of Esau Edom. It doesn't necessarily mean Esau Edom's 2-3 months old and he's already speaking and he's lying. No, it just means that it's actually in his DNA to lie, to be a liar. Because that's what Cain is known for. When you go to the book of St. John 8:44, he said, you are your father the devil. Who's that referring to? That was referring to Cain. He was what? He was a murderer from the beginning, and he was a liar. Who committed the first offense of murder? Was Cain. Right? That's referring to Esau Edom, man. Let's bring this out in the NLT real quick, verse 3. Right? These wicked people are born sinners. Even from birth, they have lied and gone their own way. Right? They're a renegade. Right? Everything that YAHAWASHI say they do the complete opposite. And again, this is highlighted to be one of the main characters in the world. That's why when you look around and see the status of these Edomites and everything that they're selling you is a fucking lie, because this is Esau Edom in the flesh, man. The so-called white man is Esau Edom in the flesh. And if you can't see, it's because the Most High blinded you, and he wants you to fall into his trap, so you could get killed in the end, man. Right? The same individuals that stocked up plastic coffins, polluted the water with fluoride, right? That mandate jabs so that way your kids could go to school, right? I told you you'll lose your job unless you got this jabs. Everything that this man ever involved himself in is wickedness and is violence, right? Esau Edom came up. The only good thing Esau Edom ever came up with was the missiles, because that's going to be the reason he gets put down. And ultimately, the Most High put the spirit in him to create it, so that way, the grand finale could actually be a grand finale, right? It's gonna be the best thing that ever happened, to Esau Edom, is him getting destroyed by his own creation. You know what I'm saying? But let me go into Jacob, because there's many indicators of how to identify Esau Edom, man. Right? Matter of fact, let me bring out one more and then we'll move on, right? Because we'll be at this all day long, right? Because the Most High, he gave us ammunition right here through the scriptures, man. Right? He gave us everything that we need to be able to identify who's the wicked and who's the righteous, who's actually set up to serve Yahweh Shema Shan, who's actually set up to rule the world in wickedness. Right? This is the book of Genesis 25 and 24. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. Right? The first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. Right? So that's another indicator. Who's the red of the world, right? And you know, Esau, Edom would try to deflect and try to point out the Gadites as the red men, right? That's why they had the team at one point called the Redskins, right? But ultimately, Gad ain't really red, he's brown, right? Gad is actually brown, and he's, you know, for anything, he's more in the ruddy, you know, in the ruddy side, like you could say reddish brown, right? But more like, you know, the deeper browns, right? Especially back then. But the red of the earth is actually those that came out with no melanin, which is Esau, Edom. That's why everybody was shocked, you know, when he came out, because he came out different, you know. He came out different than how everybody else came out at the time, you know. But and another thing too, pointing out Esau, Edom's characteristics is this: and the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, right? A man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. So Esau, Edom was just a man in the field. He was just going out there killing animals and shit. And when you go to these fucking cabins and shit, what do they got? They got trophies of heads of animals. You know, literally destroying life for fun as a game. You know, just, you know, having all them hunter gears and shit. You know, you don't see Jake doing that shit, man. Jake is playing, keep us in the city. Keep, you know what I'm saying? We don't want to be in it. We don't want, like, heights. You know, sometimes Jake likes staying away from ball. We don't like fucking around, man. You know what I'm saying? But Esau, Edom do all the crazy shit because he's Esau, Edom, man. You know? But again, Esau, Edom is the red man. He want to point, he want to deflect and act like it's the Gadites, but it's actually him. That's why everything he does, that, you know, when he's guilty, he turns red. When he's upset, he turns red. When he's embarrassed or shy, everything that he does, he turns red, because that's a sign. When you go into the when we were talking about Cain and Mark, look, this is a sign. This is him, right? This is the man right here. This is the man that made the whole earth tremble. When you go into the book of Isaiah, the 14th chapter. Now, what is Jacob known for? Being a plain man, right? Let's go. The best way to explain who Jake is, you go into the curses, man. Right? Again, the two main characters of the world, Jacob and Esau. And it so happened to be that they're actually twins. Right? Not, what is it? It's not identical twins, but not infertile. What is it? It's something. There's something, right? Salaki, I don't want to make anything up. You know, but it's not the identical twins, it's the other ones where they came out you know, looking different. But in this case, one came out red and the other came out normal. Right, so let me go ahead and bring this out. This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 24, and because there's many to go into, and one of the indicators of representing who Jake is too, you know, is our kids getting taken. You know, there's many things going in there. Kids getting taken, us building for the next man, because Esau, Edom ain't building for nobody, man. You know, he uses us to build his kingdom, right? This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse, there's some down here too. Where's that at? This is it right here. Verse 30, Deuteronomy 28 and 30, thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Right? And you could this right here played out in what? In captivity. When he was married, and then the Edomite, you know what I'm saying, your Edomite master would tell you to leave the room or leave the house while he does this thing with your wife. You know what I'm saying? That's, you know, that's it's fucked up as a sound. This is what these Edomites did. They had joy in popping your woman when they had all the you know, all the availability, all the opportunity, all the money to go deal with whoever the fuck they wanted with. But they, you know, they hated us so much that they'll deal with our woman. And ultimately, you know, these things had to come to pass. Right? Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and thou shalt not grate the grapes thereof. And that's what you see with our people here today. All these jobs Jake is working, you're not doing all those things for yourself to promote your company. Everything that you're doing is for the next man, so they could prosper, ultimately to an Edomite. Verse 32, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. Thy eyes shall look long and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand. Right? Our kids is gonna be taken, and you seen that in and that's documented in slavery. And you seen that in the movie Goodbye Uncle Tom. Right? Just the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 3. And they have cast lots for my people. They have given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. And this is what they did, again, in captivity. Right? They were just selling the kids, man. Right? And there was nothing that you could do about it. And that was a way for them to destroy our heritage as well, for us to not remember who we are, because if they strip the kids, and the elders or the parents is the only way of them receiving the knowledge of who they are, now the kids is growing up destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Let me see, there's a lot of things to go into this, what I'm saying? Salakia, it's just, and it's, when you have, brother, I haven't touched up on this for a cool second. It's only when it's needed to be touched up on, but when you read it, you're like, man, it reminds you why this man got to be destroyed in the end of the day, the water YAHAWAH Shemel shot it is going to come sooner than it is later. Right? Let me go ahead and go ahead to the evil eye towards our brother, because we're really the only nation that's experiencing that, right? Verse 54, this is the book of Deuteronomy 28 and 54. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, because history had it where, was it in the book of Kings? Is it the book of Kings or the book of Samuel? I believe it's the book of Kings, where, when a man was sojourn and you would just be found in the street, an Israelite man would greet you and take you to the crib and feed you. Just so you don't be in the streets. So back then it was love, right? So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil towards his brother. So instead of that brotherly love that was presented in the past, now what do we have here today? We have here, individuals that's living out these curses, which are Israelites, which is so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. And how do we know that? By one of these curses right here. This is identifying exactly who you are, that you got to be the Israelites. Why is that? Because verse 46, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. So this is how you identify who the Israelites are, because this is going to be upon your back forever. So you're going to recall, like, why am I going through these? Is because you're an Israelite, right? His eyes shall be evil towards his brother. And how do we see that? Black on black crime, brown on brown crime, brown on black crime. The northern kingdom hating the southern kingdom, racism amongst each other. When you go in prison, it's mostly, when, even though the enemy is the Edomites, or when you go to jail, even though the enemies is the white man, we so distract and killing each other that we lose focus. When really we the same people, because, and we only feeling that is only happening like that is because of these curses, man. Right? This curses is playing out. Because what? We are the main characters. The Most High is showing you, look, you are Jacob. You need to wake the fuck up before it get too late. Right? In the streets, Bloods and Crips. Serranos, Norteños, man. What is that telling you? That their eyes shall be evil towards your brother. You don't see these you don't see the China man going against each. You don't see the white man going against each other. You don't see no other nations going against each other but us. And that's a telltale sign that we are the Israelites, man. Right? His eyes shall be evil towards his brother, and towards the wife of his bosom, and towards the remnant of his children, which he shall lead. That's why there's a lot of fatherless homes. It's mostly amongst our people, man. mostly amongst our people, right? But yes, there's a lot of things to go into that, but I want to bring this out. The scriptures talking about we gonna be filling up the prison houses, man. It's the book of Isaiah, or is it Jeremiah? Salakia. Bear with me, Akim. Salakia. I believe it's in the book of Isaiah. Yep, Isaiah 42 and 22. It's the book of Isaiah 42 and verse 22, right? But this is a people robbed and spoiled, right? Everything was taken from us, man. Right? They are all of them snared in holes. You're set and put in the trap, right? In the believing madness, or thinking that this is the only route into success, or into happiness, right? Or you're just actually rapping about being in the fucking trap, selling drugs. I know people use it as that matter. I mean, you could, but ultimately you're just, you're destroyed, man. You fell in Esau's trap. And they are all hid in prison houses. You done grew up with a dude and you wonder where the fuck this dude been at. Little do you know, this motherfucker, Jake is in jail. Because Esau, what is he doing? He's plotting against us. Right? When you go to the book of Songs of 10th chapter, they said that they lay in wait and they set snares. Who do you think that's for? That's talking about us. Those snares are set up for you Israelite men and women. That Esau's biggest market of making any kind of money is by y'all, whether it be entertainment or whether it be locking y'all up. So you could buy up all their noodles, their soups, and get free labor out of you, man. Right? They are for a prey, and none deliver it. For a spoil, and none says restore. Nobody stands up for us, man. Right? Because you've been seeking all the wrong help. Your help is in YAHAWASHI and none else. Right? We are the Israelites, man. Right? There's no denying that. Right? I got two more scriptures. I mean, this is all through the spirit. Scriptures are just coming in mind. There's way many more indicators that this is who the Heavenly Father is referring to. That is referring to us and not nobody else. Right? Let me bring this out. This is the book of Revelations 2 and 9. Right? I know thy works in tribulation. Right? What is tribulation going into? Struggles. Right? And poverty. But thou art rich. What does it mean that we're rich? When the scriptures, I believe in the book of James, he said that, brethren, know ye not that I chose the poor of the world rich in faith, right? And ultimately we're rich because what we're getting ready to inherit all things, and ultimately everything was made for our sakes. So ultimately we got an inheritance, we got a will coming to us when everything is said and done. So naturally we are rich. All this belongs to us. But right now you could see us being rich in faith. Those are things you could actually see because what we fill up the churches as well. Right? But I know the blasphemy of them that say that are Jews but are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. But the point that I'm trying to bring out is that we're going to poverty and we're going through trials, but we are at the same time rich in faith. So that just shows you that this is God's people right here. Right? Because the history and the story of the Jews are what? Captivity. And what? The Most High coming through and redeeming them. Our situation now is no different. Right? The Most High is going to deliver us, man. It's going to be a beautiful deliverance when it happens too. All right. I'm going to bring this out, man, off here. So like I didn't mean to make it long, but it could have been longer if I would have had precepts docked down. But, I was just rolling through the spirit. Forgive me, Akim. This is the book of Hosea 1 and 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said on them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said on them, ye are the sons of the living power. Right? So this is the Israelites got to be us, because we was calling ourselves everything else but the Israelites, God's chosen people. We was calling ourselves blacks, people of color, Jehovah's Witness, Christians, this and that. We was never calling ourselves Israelites, man. So we are God's descendants, man. Not his descendants, but his chosen. Right? We are his chosen seed, man. right? And it can't be everybody else because these fake Jews, they've been calling themselves Jews, right? To play that part, right? I mean, as long as they was planted there, because we understand obviously they couldn't be calling themselves before that because, this was the only captivity that we didn't know who the hell we were. But prophecy had to be fulfilled. As a matter of fact, let me bring that out as well. There's the book of Baruch, chapter 2, verse 29, right? If you will not hear my voice, surely this very great multitude shall be turned into a small number among the nations where I will scatter them. And another thing too, that's proof that who we are. This helped me, add on is that, we're scattered. We're really the only nations that's scattered throughout the four corners, man. We're really the only nation that don't know who the fuck we is, man. All these nations, they got their own customs, they got their own heritage, they got their own land. We the one that's still in the land of our captivity, man. We are the Israelites, man. The two main characters, Esau, Edom, is identified. Now you're able to identify who the Israelites is by the way, their mannerism, the way they conduct themselves, the way they're so fucking lost, man. Right? For I knew that they would not hear me because it is a stiff-necked people, and that's our people, stiff-necked, gainsaying, rebellious, don't want nothing to do with the Lord, right? Want to fucking party all the fucking time, right? But in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves. So that's us. We're in the land of our captivities, remembering ourselves, and shall know that I am Yahawah their power. For I give them a heart and ears to hear. The Most High give us the understanding that we need. And they shall praise me in the land of their captivity and think upon my name. And that's what the Most High did for us, man. All right. So I'm man off here. Lord willing, the lesson was edifying. All right. I'm man off by giving all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, Rakah, Quadash. Our double honors to the elder apostles, the elder bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect. Shalom, Akim, Shalom.